So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another anniversary video of the Children on a Couch. Today, I'm joined by JC Rock and Metal Reviews and Jogi. So, first of all, how are you guys?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. And today we're going back to 1999, where this album came out, Slipknot Self-Titled, which came out on June the 29th of 1999. And yeah, I remember this when it came out because I thought it was like a very heavy stuff back in the day. So we're here to talk about this album that's gonna be 25 years old, and we're gonna talk about we have 3 rounds. We're gonna talk about our favorite tracks. We'll talk about also the first round, like our first initial memories of listening to this record. Then in the final round, we'll say like our final thoughts and how it has aged 25 years later. So yeah, let's start with JC. JC, what was your like initial thoughts when you listened to this back in the day?
Okay, well, I'll be honest with you all. I didn't listen to Slipknot back in the day. It was just one of those bands. I don't know. They didn't appeal to me for some reason. I found them much later. Back in the day, I was into Korn. I was into Linkin Park, a lot of other bands, and I got into Slipknot much later. And I've told the story on my channel before, but I'll tell it again. The first time I listened to Slipknot was when I was like going through YouTube, and I found this like mashup of their song "Psychosocial" with Justin Bieber's "Baby," and I thought it was like so funny because like those two songs, like they go together like really well. and and ever since then, I started getting into Slipknot. I started listening to their other albums. I'm a fan of Slipknot, but I like their later stuff. Like I know a lot of people love this album. A lot of people love Iowa. I'm the kind of person I like Volume 3. I like the one after that, and I don't know. I still like this album. When we get to the next round, I'll talk about the songs I like. But I think like as far as ranking, this would probably like go like towards the bottom half, just for in my personal opinion. But
No?
yeah, so that's it. So I got into them later. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Jogi? I think you did listen to this almost back in the day, right?
Oh yes, back in '99 when it came out, I listened to the single "Wait and Bleed." Back in that time, I was really into ska punk and uh, into Real Big Fish and all those kind of ska bands that they were in by that moment. But all of a sudden, this album came out, and I saw a video. I remember I saw the video. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" I was like, "This guy with mask." And I mean, that song was pretty impressive. I mean, but it was pretty harsh. I was blown away by by that song. And I think that song also came on a soundtrack. I think it was a horror movie soundtrack.
Back in the day, a lot of those songs were in horror movies. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I bought the album. And when I bought it, I remember I bought it on Kmart. I saw it on Kmart, and I bought the album on Kmart, and I listened to it with my best friend back in the day. And yeah, it's an album that I still spin it, once in a while.
Yeah, I have it on vinyl, but I'm not in my house, so I have it. The vinyl is yellow vinyl. I think I showed on a video I did for Señorita Sabrosura channel where we're talking new metal, and I showed the Slipknot album. So I did listen to this back in the day when it came out. I just remember it came out, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" Like they had the red jumpsuits, the mask, and there's one of the masks that we had someone here in Puerto Rico called Papo Swing, and one of the masks looked like him. I don't know if you remember. Yes, this is the mask that looks like Papo Swing, clown's mask. Remember Papo Swing? Yogi, are you there, man?
Yeah, I remember Papa Smith.
Yeah, so that mask, and yeah, and you know, this album when it came out, first of all, it was produced by Ross Robinson, and Ross Robinson really knew how to get like that raw production from bands. And I gotta say, like JC, when this first came out, I I listened to it, but I think I got more into Slipknot also with Iowa. But I think this is a very solid debut record. So I was checking out, and it got fairly positive reviews when it came out, mostly 4 out of 5s or 8 out of 10s. But I think the review that I saw that gave it the least one was like a 7 out of 10 that it was given. No, actually, Rolling Stone gave it 2.5 stars. But Rolling Stones has been, they always have been like, sometimes they miss the mark a lot on some of the albums. So yeah, I did listen to it. I like Yogi. I remember the video for Wait and Bleed, which when you listen to this album, because I was listening to it to prepare for this, it's kind of like the most commercial track on the record, if you think about it. It's
Yeah.
the least, it's the least, it's abrasive, but compared to some other shit on this record, is one of the least abrasive, the one that could be listened to. And back in, like, when you think about Slipknot, you know, now they're one of the most famous bands in metal, but back in 1999, they were opening Ozfest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm talking about this Ozfest. That Ozfest, I would love to go back in time just to see. It was, you had Slipknot, you had a young Limp Bizkit, you had Incubus, you had Snot, you had Puya from Puerto Rico also playing on that Ozfest. So System of a Down, I'm telling you, it was the lineup of the who's who's of metal back when they were like not that famous. And Slipknot open. Can you imagine like Slipknot opening that Ozfest? How amazing it had to be. So yeah, it's an album that, yeah, I did bought it when it came out, but I think I appreciate it more now. And I don't know you, Yogi, there's a lot of like newer bands trying to copy that sound of that first Slipknot record. I listened to a band like Blood Youth, for example, and I listened to a few that I listened to them, and I'm like, wow, this sounds like they're trying to do that Slipknot sound from
Yeah, that
1999.
album had that nice aggressive and speeds sound with that groove, guitar grooves, and that blast of percussions. And I mean, it was, I mean, it was not to, what's not to love about it? Is it?
Yeah, and it was produced and mastered Ross Robinson and Joey Jordison, the drummer, also, who, rest in peace. He was a great drummer. And also the band had like a demo before, but then they changed and they brought in Corey Taylor, and you know,
Yeah,
that's Mhm.
they recorded Made Fit to Repeat.
Yeah.
It was back in the day when they were with Anders Persson. I think
Yeah,
that,
and actually, that other singer re-released that. I know because my friend Live Listen Erased did a cover, because the covered that album because it was re-released. So I think it's somewhere in the streams if people want to listen to that demo with their original singer. So you can't deny that back in 1999, basically Slipknot was ahead of its time, and then it would get there's the other band that came after them that I call them like the Slipknot imitators. I don't know if they came first, but I'm talking about Mushroom Head.
Yeah.
Like something like that. But yeah, yeah, very influential album when it came out. So let's talk tracks, maybe like favorite tracks and deep cuts from this record. So JC, what tracks stood out for you?
Yeah, I like mostly like the front half that has some of the singles. Like you mentioned, Wait and Bleed. That's a really great song. I think like Wait and Bleed has a sound that's like fits more on like the Volume 3 album. Like it has that type of sound, because everything else is like very different, very heavy. But I'll start some of my deep cuts. I like the first real song, which is Sick, the SIC in parentheses. That's just really super heavy, super dark. And then like the end of the song, they're like saying, you can't kill me because I'm already inside you. And then like, you know, they say like sick, sick. That's a super heavy song. It's very dark. Another deep cut I like is Liberate. It's more like in the middle of the album. Just another one, just like super heavy. I think it's just a very like typical of that time, very new metal sounding song. I like Prosthetics. That's like a dark song. It's like this has some like darker tones. It's very creepy. It kind of reminds me of like a horror movie. When you like, you know, read the lyrics, it's just like a very kind of a scary song. And what else is there? And then I'll talk about one more. Eyeless. That's like right in the beginning. This has a really cool the lyrics is like you can't see California without Marlon Brando's eyes. Now I don't know what it means. Somebody in the comment maybe doesn't knows what it means, but
Why Marlon
it,
Brando? I was thinking about that today.
It was something this homeless guy said to Corey back in that day, and I think he mentioned it in an interview once, and he heard it from a homeless guy, and he heard it from that guy, and it stayed in his head. So that's how he came with that line, that song.
okay. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. This is a great song. It's like, yeah, he says that line and it's like, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. I really like this song a lot. And then just a super heavy song. So yeah, I would say like for me, like the front half of the album, I like Surfacing, Spit It Out, like all those. I mean, for me, I think it gets like a little slower towards the end. Like there's the one song Scissors, which is like 8 minutes long. I think that's kind of like it kind of drags a little bit, but otherwise, yeah, those are my picks. I like just the front half of the album.
Nice. What about you, Yogi?
My favorites, Wait and Bleed, Surfacing, Eeyore, which is the hidden track on the last song,
The
which
hidden
is
track, yeah.
Eyeless is amazing. Sick. I mean, there's a few to pick as favorites. I mean, I grew up with that album, so deep cuts. I would say Purity, the track that was removed from the list from the album on the re-releases of the.
Oh yeah, I think it was taken out because it was something about a murder
It was
and
Yeah.
it was supposed to be it wasn't about the murder. It was more about it was based on it.
Mhm.
Actually, it was not about. So they had like this what do you call it, like this legal thing. So they had to remove it. They had to remove it from listing. So they had to re-release the album, and I think they threw different versions later on, including back that album and some other extra songs and re-remixes of the a few of the songs. So yeah, I think those were my favorites from the album. But
Yeah,
Purity, I still love Purity.
yeah, no, it's interesting. So for me, what I like about this album is like its rawness. It's a very raw album. I think like tracks. First of all, Sick is great. You know that line that you can't kill me because I'm already inside you. It's like wow, so
Yeah.
great. Eyeless, that Marlon Brando, like the way that Corey spits out those lyrics. I think they were lumping with new metal because he had like a rapid fire delivery. But
Yeah,
to me, it was more inspired, more like by a Mike Patton than like I say like a new metal rap thing. Because to me, I think they got lumped in with the new metal because at that time everything, oh, it's new metal. Plus,
Yeah.
we had, you know, I was so surprised when that band came out and they had 9 members, and I'm like, wait, this is not a ska band. because only ska bands had like 9 people and you had like the horns and people dancing. But I remember there's the guy that just there's a guy that just like hits like a trash can, and I'm like, really? Do you need a guy just?
Yeah, I think it's like percussion. I mean, because they have the guitar, bass, drums, and percussion. Another drummer, a DJ, and a sampler. It's like they have all the yeah.
Yeah, something interesting that I didn't know reading about this album is that Jim Root actually wasn't the original guitar player. He
It was
was,
Josh
Yeah.
Brainard.
yeah, but
Yeah.
he like after the album was done, he went away. There was some like maybe
Then
disagreements.
he left in 1988, right after they finished the recording of the album.
Yeah, and I think they brought Jim Root to do 2 songs. It worked out in the end because Jim Root is a great guitar player. Not to take away anything from Mick Thompson, he's great as well. So I like Wait and Bleed. It's great, even though I've heard it countless times. But I gotta give props to Spit It Out because that's the original Hunk Tua song. I got to put in the joke. Is like, oh, you didn't. The original Hawk to a song. Slipknot did it first. There you go. Spit it out. I was just thinking of that when I was listening to it today. But yeah, other tracks. I think I like Prosthetics and I like Liberate as well. When it gets more like experimental. Also, Tattered and Torn is a very interesting track, like very almost kind of like industrial at times. So I
It's
think
yeah.
yeah, that's the feeling you get. It's like an unnerving, it's like that track could have been on like a Resident Evil video game and it would feel right in place. So yeah, we picked tracks from this album and deep cuts. So now let's talk about, 25 years later, how this has aged and what we think about it now. So JC?
Yeah, so I think yeah, we touched a little bit on this before, whereas in like they get lumped into new metal as just like their image. I think this album in particular is probably like the most new metal because I think like the main component of new metal is like really heavy and then there's like some like hip hop elements. So I think like this one, Corey Taylor does like a little bit of rapping on some of the songs. So but after this, like Iowa, I think that was like really that was a completely different album, and that's like a whole other the video to talk about. But that's like more like heavy, aggressive, more like into like death metal and that type of thing. But yeah, this it holds up. Personally, I'm a fan of like their later albums, but I think yeah, it does hold up very well. Like 25 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, just as long as you put this higher from their last album, we're good. Because their last album,
I would I haven't done a ranking. I did a Slipknot ranking a long time ago before. What was the last album like the end so far?
it's
I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but
I didn't really.
I would probably that would probably be like towards the bottom.
Biggest album.
But I didn't hate it. I liked some of the songs. I liked Adderall. That's kind of a weird song, but
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I love it. I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you. I didn't
I
like.
don't know, I like the latest Slipknot. I like when they get weird, like Weird Your Kind is like one of my favorite albums from them. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Well, We
I
Are
like
Not Your
I
Kind. That
like
one.
that
Yeah,
one.
the one right before that. But anyway, yeah, back to this album. Yeah, it holds up. Yeah, I think it's just this band like they don't sound dated. Like they like some new metal bands that kind of sound dated. Like they don't sound dated. I think this band like really like holds up well. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Jogi?
But for 1999, and it was a great album. I mean, right now you can if you listen to how new metal went and then got metalcore, then started to rise, and I mean they pretty much finesse their style their sound as well. But they are not right now as aggressive as that album and Iowa. I mean, they can throw you a few songs in these new albums, and which they are all good. I do not compare with that about that last album, because I can dig that new album. There's a few songs I could say like that's a good song, but as in like that 1999 self-titled release, if during this time right now, I mean, yeah, it's an influential album, but I don't know, it's not in right now. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's not the sound that's right now. It's on top, so it's a sound that it could die.
Okay, so yeah, for you it sounds dated. It sounds like
Yeah, dated. That's the word.
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, no, that's a good fair assessment, but has it hold up for you, or do you
Yeah,
think you enjoyed it more when it came younger?
when nostalgia hits, I spin it, but it's not something that it's not a refreshing sound.
Yeah. So to me, this is not my favorite Slipknot record. I think I like Volume 3 and Iowa the best. And I would say this one is a third. But yeah, I also like All Hope Is Gone and stuff like that. But I think this is the most new metal record from them. And yes, it's very influential. And like I said, there's a lot of newer bands trying to emulate the sound of that record. I thought of one, but I've listened to a few. I'm like, yeah, they're trying
Like
to.
Mudvayne also?
Uh, no,
Or did they come before?
Mudvayne. The Mudvayne album came like a year later. LD50. That we'll have to talk about that album when it has an anniversary. Because
Oh yes.
yeah, no, I think they're different, especially especially the bass for Mudvayne, but that's another whole topic. But I think there's a lot of, like, when I say newer bands, JC, I think bands now like from 2015 and that have tried to do the sound of Slipknot. I mentioned one called Blood Youth, because I remember when an album of them came out, I said this sounds like Slipknot's first album, like that but with a more modern production. So there's a lot of bands that have been influenced. I think those bands like Slipknot, Deftones, Korn influence a lot of like bands that are now, and you can tell who they like by the way that they sound. I still think, yeah.
Have you heard of Bandit?
Who?
Corey's songs. The band of Corey's song.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard the album?
What's the name of the band?
Bandit.
Bended.
Yeah, Bandit.
Oh, yeah, it's called Corey Taylor's son.
Oh,
I never listened to
a
them,
few
though.
songs, and no.
I liked it. I mean, I like it. It sounds pretty Slipknot back in the day.
Well, he sounds a lot like his dad, so yeah.
Yeah, he sounds a lot like his dad.
Like his dad. But yeah, I have to listen to it more. But
Yeah.
Going back to this album, I think this is a great debut record, but I think with Iowa, I think Iowa is their heaviest record, and every time that they're about to release, I hate it when they say it's gonna be the heaviest. Like, do not say that the heaviest since Iowa, because I think there's no way that they can be as heavy as Iowa. And when we'll talk about Iowa too, because that's an album that when it has an anniversary, I would like to revisit and talk about that album. But yeah, I think this album has held up. Like Yogi, listening to it, I do agree that it sounds dated. It does sound like from that 1999 era. I don't think it's aged bad, but I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, this is from 1999. It's like the same thing. I think this sounds like we talking about Limp Bizkit, Significant Other. I don't know why this one to me sounds more dated in a way. I don't know. I don't know why, but it does have like that 90s sound, and that raw production from Ross Robinson. I don't listen to this all the time, but I think it's a great influential record that, you know, it influenced a lot of bands, and I think it still holds up. But I do agree, I wouldn't say it's their best record. And yes, I like Yogi, I agree that it sounds a little bit dated at times. So there you go, Couchers. We Slipknot, self-titled, we have said, you know, it's an influential classic album that has stood the test of time. So we want to know from you guys, what do you think of this album? What are your earliest memories of listening to it? And comment on your favorite tracks down below. And coming up next for the Shield on a Couch, we won't have an Is It That Bad episode, at least for 2 weeks. We're taking a break, you know, some days off, but I have more album reviews, and I know there's more anniversaries coming this year that we'll talk about here on the channel. So I want to thank my guest, JC Rock and Metal Reviews. If you can, subscribe to his channel. He's also going to have a video for this album, like where he's gonna talk more deep about the history.
Yeah.
So check out that in his channel and give him a subscribe. And Yogi, he does not have a YouTube channel, but he does photography, and I don't know, like, and he also is gonna be more on these episodes. You have to come for an Is It That Bad, man?
I'll try.
Like, we'll try to pick an interesting one so you can talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and of course,
I'll have to make a list for that.
yes, yeah, think of a list of albums that you like to talk about, because it's interesting. But yeah, we're taking a 2-week hiatus for Is It That Bad? And also, I'm trying to do the new series, Should Have Been Bigger, so that will come as soon as we can. So, and if you haven't, please subscribe to my channel and give me a like and share this with Slipknot fans. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a Couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.